What if I told you that a lot of languages like Russian, English, Spanish, and Hindi are related, although they're spoken like thousands of miles across? Well, they all have something in common. They're all Indo-European languages, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. But before we begin, my name is Saunab, and I love learning languages. And in this channel, I make videos about like linguistics, where we explore like a lot of different languages, unique languages, language families, and linguistics and all that. Like I basically make videos about languages, linguistics, and anything in between. And yeah, so without further ado, let's get down to business. Let's start the video right away. Okay, starting off, what are Indo-European languages? Well, Indo-European is the most spoken and the most geographically widespread language family in the world. It has over like 3 billion speakers, native speakers across like all of them continents in the world. It includes major languages like Russian, Hindi, Spanish, German, and even the one I'm speaking right now. And yeah, they are believed to descend from a single ancestral language called Proto-Indo-European (PIE), spoken by pastoralist communities around here around like 4,500 to 6,000 years ago. We will talk about that in a bit. And yeah, it is one of the best studied language families, but it's not the oldest one. In fact, we don't even know what the oldest language family is because like it's hard to date back. And yeah, this family is divided into like many branches. We will talk about that in a bit, but now let's have a brief look at Proto-Indo-European or PIE. Now, Proto-Indo-European is the ancestor of all of the Indo-European languages, meaning all of them Indo-European languages like Spanish, Sanskrit, Russian, English, all of them evolved from one single language called Proto-Indo-European. It was spoken by pastoralist communities back in the day around like 6,000 years ago. However, some linguists also believe that it can be there even further. Where was it spoken, you may ask? Well, while a lot of homelands have been suggested in the modern day in the 21st century, many scholars have converged on two primary locations: Anatolia in Turkey and around like the Caspian Sea in like southern Russia or Ukraine in modern day. And now aren't you wondering, like, since it was spoken so long ago, about like 6,000 years ago, how do we even like know what they sounded like? We don't have any records, right? Well, you're right, we don't have any records. We use a method called the comparative study, and as you can tell by the name, it means like we use words in our languages, like we compare sounds, vocab, like how they evolved and everything from it to our languages, meaning like from languages that evolved out of it, like German, English, Russian, Sanskrit, and all these languages, because we know how they sound, right? For example, to put that in perspective, let's compare like four words from a Germanic language, a Romance language, a Slavic language, and an Indo-Aryan language, or in even simpler words in languages like English, Spanish, Russian, and Sanskrit. Now let's look at a few words. Now in English you have mother, in Spanish you have madre, in Sanskrit you have matre, in Russian you have mats. You see, they all have like the M sound and a vowel, because no matter what language family, what language branch there is, like the word for mom in like 99% of the languages is always like, it always starts with like mom, because like that's the first consonant their babies start to make. So yeah, from this we can construct a word in Proto-Indo-European. The second word, brother. In English we have brother, in Spanish we have hermano, in Sanskrit we have bharte, in Russian we have brat. You see, all of the three languages have ba or va in it except Spanish, because Spanish underwent a sound change. In historical linguistics, sound changes are like super common, they occur a lot. And that's basically what separates languages from different families like over centuries. For example, you have the Germanic consonant shift that separates like Proto-Indo-European languages to like Proto-Germanic languages. But anyway, that's a topic for like a future video. Third word, the number three. In English is three, in Spanish is tres, in Sanskrit and Russian is three. You see, they all have like the and like ra. The last word, new. In English is new, in Spanish is nuevo, in Sanskrit is novo, and in Russian is novi. You see, they all have like n. So from like all these words, we can like conclude that a lot of these languages came from like a same ancestor. And yeah, that's basically like how we know like what words sounded like in like 6,000 years ago in like Proto-Indo-European. In this method, the comparative study is not only for like Indo-European languages. We can use them to like find words in like any other families as well, like in Niger Congo, like Proto-Niger Congo, or like Proto-Bantu and all that. So yeah, that's basically how we know all of these languages are related and came from a same ancestor. And now let's look at like a few branches of the Indo-European languages. Now, since Indo-European is spoken in a huge portion of the world, it has like a lot of branches, mainly 9 surviving branches along with a few extinct ones. And yeah, now let's look at like all of them briefly. Number one, Romance languages. Now, Romance languages include languages like Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, Galician, French, and many more. They all descended from Vulgar Latin, and altogether they're spoken by around like a billion people in the world. Number two, Germanic languages. Now, Germanic languages include languages like English, Swedish, Danish, German, Afrikaans, and many more. They are spoken by around like 2 billion people, among which only 500 million are native. Now, English is technically a Germanic language. However, it has borrowed like a lot of words from like Latin languages. So that's why like if you speak English, you have like like some sort of advantage because like it's similar to Romance languages as well as to Germanic languages. Number three, Indo-Iranian languages. They include languages like Hindi, Bengali, Persian, and Sinhala. They are spoken by around 1.2 billion people in northern part of Indian subcontinent, the island of Sri Lanka, and Iran. Number four, Slavic languages. Now they include languages like Russian, Bulgarian, Polish, Ukrainian, and many more. They are spoken by around like 300 million people. Number five, Baltic languages. Two popular Baltic languages are Latvian and Lithuanian. Number six, Celtic languages. They include languages like Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and many more. They are spoken by around like 3 million people in the island of Great Britain and Ireland. Other than these six branches, we also have like some more branches which include like only one language in it, like the branch Hellenic for Greek and Armenian for languages like it's obvious in it. And furthermore, we also have some branches which are extinct, meaning they don't have native speakers anymore, but they're historically important. For example, we have Anatolian languages, including languages like Hittite, spoken back then in like the city of Anatolia in Turkey. And then we also have Azorian languages spoken back then in the southwestern part of China in Xinjiang. Oof. Finally, we're done with the branches. Now let's look at like some features of Indo-European languages. Number one, shared cognates. Now, since all of these languages come from like one single ancestor, Proto-Indo-European, words are similar. Some words are like more obvious while the others are less. Number two, inflection. Now, many Indo-European languages rely on like inflection, rely on cases rather than like word order. What it means is like a word can take like different forms depending on like its role in a sentence, like whether it's a subject or an object, a direct object, an indirect object, or like you get me right. For example, in Russian, you have the base word dom. It means like house. But if you wanna say to the house, you would say domoy. So I'm going home would be like yeah idu domoy, but you can flip the order. You can say something like yeah domoy idu like idu yeah domoy like all that. And the same thing happens in German with a few rules. But English lost this feature. English lost its cases. However, you can see like some cases in pronouns, like how we say he is great, I saw him, or like his friends is great. Like the same thing, like they mean the same thing, the same person, but you use different words depending on cases. Like that's a super common thing in like Indo-European languages. Number three, grammatical genders. Now many Indo-European languages have genders from like 0 to 3. Like Slavic languages have 3 genders, Romance languages have 2 genders, but English doesn't have any. Number four, sound correspondence. Now similar languages show like regular sound changes, like how Latin P became like fa in English, or like pater becoming father in English. And yeah, speaking of that, in future I'm gonna make a video explaining like sound shifts, sound changes in Germanic languages. So stay tuned. Why did I leak there? Number five, verb conjugation. Now, in many Indo-European languages, you have to conjugate verbs based on like person, time, mood, and even genders. And yeah, although like some languages are easier and some languages are harder to conjugate verbs in, the core idea is similar. And yeah, that's all about Indo-European languages. It's a super fascinating language family because it's the only language family I know most languages from. But I'm trying to change it though by learning Turkish. And yeah, if your native language is Indo-European, but you happen to speak like one non-Indo-European language, you are a real language learner. You get like so much respect in our servers. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, ciao.